Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of The Way Unfiltered. This is an episode where just me as a native and a teacher talking to you as a friend, completely unscripted, not focusing on particular vocabulary or grammar, and just chatting, and hopefully we learn something along the way. A couple of weeks ago, in the previous episode, we did some questions to do with the B1 and B2 speaking exam, right? I didn't finish, and today I thought we could just finish them, the ones that we haven't done. So I have here a little shaker. I don't know if you want some ASMR, right? Of different prompts or different questions that the examiner could ask, and I'm going to answer them as I would a native. So there's about 12 or 13. There were 25 questions in total. I can't remember exactly. So I just have the questions that were left, and then I'll put them in the description below so that if you want to ask them yourself, you can ask them as well. Right? Let's get into it. Okay, question number 1. Can you hear me opening the question? Right. The question is, how much time do you spend at home? Right? How much time do you spend at home? Well, I am a homebody. I am quite introverted. So I really enjoy spending a lot of time at home. Probably the majority of my time at home, my free time is at home. However, I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone and really just get out more. I used to go into the city quite a lot, but I'm trying to avoid the city and spend more time in nature, more in the mountains, more at the beach, and also just going to the gym. I need to start walking though. I'd love to get into the countryside and just go in for walks. So yeah, way too much time spending at home, and hopefully I'll spend more time outside. Next question is, 2 seconds. What did you do yesterday evening? A typical question that you can see in the exam, right? Obviously in the exam that you can invent, right? But I don't think it's necessary. Just tell the truth. Like, right, I did nothing special. Yesterday I finished work, I came home and I cooked dinner. I made chicken and rice. And then I relaxed on the sofa for a bit, watching an episode of a TV series with my husband. And then I went into the office to do some work to prepare for today. All right, let's shake it up a little. Let's do question number 3. Right, question number 3. It's like playing bingo, kind of, right? Or like Chinese, like, you know those Chinese biscuits? I can't remember what they're called. Like good luck Chinese biscuits. I can't remember what they're called, where you have the secret Chinese lucky expression. What are they called? I can't remember. Anyway, not important. Question number 3 is, where do you live? All right, where do you live? Well, originally, I'm from South Africa, but I moved to Spain a couple of years ago, and now I live in a small city in the southeast of Spain called Murcia. Now, let's just break this down. If this was the exam, I wouldn't say, I live in the southeast of Spain. Unless you are going to England to do, or America, or an English country to do a speaking exam, you don't have to have the formal, well, I live in the southeast of blah, blah, blah. Because the examiner who's going to be asking the questions is going to know the area where you live. You only say like the southeast of Spain, the north of France, or whatever, if you are doing it in a different country, right? Like you would see it in the examples on Cambridge, for example, on YouTube. No, let's just say I'm doing the exam in Murcia and I live in Murcia and I'm doing the exam in Murcia. I would say, well, originally my family's from South Africa, but at the moment, I'm living with my family in a neighborhood in Murcia called Cabeza de Torres, which is a village just outside the city center, right? And that's it. That's perfect. You don't have to add extra things. But please don't say like, I live in Murcia or I live in the city. No, like I live in the neighborhood in the north of the city, or I live in El Ranero, which is a neighborhood in Murcia, and right next to the Mercadona, for example, right? Just a little bit more information. Okie dokie. Next question is, what do you use the internet for? What do you use the internet for? Well, to be honest, nowadays, everybody uses the internet for everything, right? But if I had to choose one thing, I would say it's like 50-50, 50% work and 50% my personal life. But I use it for looking up information. I use it for ChatGPT when I want to help myself with like some prompts. I use it to organize my stuff online, and obviously social media. I love TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, for example. So both work and play. It's a nice expression, work and play. Both work and play. All right, a little bit of ASMR. The next question is, what hobby would you like to try in the future? I'm a huge hobbyist. I'm such a fan of having hobbies. I like the cozy hobbies, like knitting and sewing and coloring and journaling. So I like the cozy, like the abuelita, the granny hobbies. But I think I'd like to get into a hobby that I've never tried before. So if I had to try a new hobby, maybe it would be something like mountain climbing, right? It's very physical, it's very good for your body, quite difficult, but it's very enjoyable, and you're spending time in nature. So either going to a rock climbing club or actually going into the mountains and start mountain climbing. Mountain climbing or rock climbing? I don't know if those are the same hobby or a different hobby. So if you are a mountain climber or a rock climber, please let me know if there's a difference. All right, next question is, how often do you exercise? Now, I would like to exercise every day, but that's not the reality. So I probably exercise in a good week, 3 to 4 times a week. I go into the gym and I will do some cardio, some weights, some whatever. But I'd like to increase it to 5 to 6 times a week. In a bad week, it could be once or twice a week if I'm in a good mood, But it just depends. But I try to go 3 or 4 times a week. I guess it also depends on the type of exercise that you do. Sometimes you don't have to exercise every day. And if you are an active person, like you do a lot of walking, you run around in your job, if you are active every day naturally, maybe you don't have to exercise every day. But I'm quite stationary, quite sedentary. There we go. Sedentary, meaning I sit a lot. So I need to exercise. And I like to eat food. You can't eat food and not exercise. You know what I mean? Right. Okay. The next question is, what do you like to do with your friends? What do you like to do with your friends? I guess it depends on the friend. With some friends, we really enjoy exercising together. Right? We would go to the gym together or go for hikes or go into the mountains. And that's quite nice. But sometimes, more often than not, I like to just socialize with friends. I'm the type of person that prefers one-to-one. I don't really like having big groups of friends. Maybe it's because I'm an introvert, but I tend to go into my shell when there's a big group of people. I definitely prefer the one-to-one. And we can be relaxing in the house. We could be having a barbecue. We could be going to the beach. We could just be going for coffee. It doesn't really matter. The activity is not important, right? What's important is spending quality time with the friend, at least in my opinion. Obviously, sometimes it's nice to have an activity like going to the gym, right? But sometimes it's not necessary. I guess it depends. All right. Okie dokie. Next one is, do you prefer working alone or with other people? Working alone or with other people? I'm quite independent, so I do enjoy working alone majority of the time. But that might also be connected to control, right? Do you remember when you were at school and you had to do a group activity and there was always that one person that didn't do enough work? Yeah, I hated that person. So I think I tend to work alone because I like the control. Maybe a bit of a perfectionist. But if me and the other person or two or three other people have the same work ethic and I respect them professionally or individually as a person, then I'm happy to work with other people. Group collaboration is fantastic if everybody has the same amount of energy and the same amount of enthusiasm. Then it's great. It really depends. I don't think it always only depends on me. It really depends on the people that you're working with. There's nothing worse than being paired with someone that is not on the same page as you, right? I want someone to match my vibe. Okay. Tell us about a celebration or festival in your country. That's a difficult one. Let's talk about Spain. Living in Murcia, probably the most important to acknowledge as a adopted Murciana is Bando de la Huerta. I guess the spring festivities in Murcia in general, we have Entierro de la Sardina, Bando de la Huerta. There are so many, and I think it's an important aspect of living in Murcia, as well as being an immigrant or an expat. You should definitely try to involve yourself in the traditional activities of the area that you live. But as a South African, South Africa is so multicultural, and every culture within the country has their own festivals and traditions. For example, we have a big, very large Indian community, and they celebrate Diwali, right? So it really depends. I think as a nation, we celebrate Mandela Day. And Mandela Day is basically the day that we commemorate Nelson Mandela, and we take time in our day to do something for someone else, right? We work for the community to show there's a thing in South Africa called Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is basically when you are part of the whole, you are part of the tribe. And yeah, I think it's one of my favorite days in South Africa of just giving a little bit of yourself to someone else in your community. I miss it. I think I might, even though I live abroad, maybe I should start integrating it into my life here in Europe. Right, we don't have a lot left. There's maybe 3 or 4 left. I don't know if you can see. Right, so there's just a couple left. Let's go through them. Where would you like to go on your next holiday? Where would you like to go on your next holiday? Well, if we are going to talk about holidays in general, I think it depends on. Okay, let's break it down. If it's a one-day trip, like a day trip, Valencia. Valencia is about 3 hours away from Murcia. So day trip to Valencia. I haven't been to the aquarium. It's on my list of things to do. If I could return to a country, I really want to go to Poland. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite countries ever. It's fantastic. And if you haven't been to Poland, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful place to be. And if I had to choose a new place, a new country completely, I have never been to the East. Like I've been to the Middle East, but like China, Japan, even like Thailand, Malaysia. I think I'm going to choose though Japan because they love stationery and I love stationery. So stationery is your papeleria, your pens, your pencils, your stickers, your papers, your notebooks. So they love stationery and they have Studio Ghibli. Now, if you don't know Studio Ghibli, it's like the Japanese version of Disney. And the films are all on Netflix. So if you haven't seen a Studio Ghibli film, I also highly recommend. So Valencia, Poland, and Japan, I would say, are my next trips if I could go on my next holiday. Right, we've got a couple left. If you are listening, right, on YouTube or Spotify or on the blog, wherever you're listening, if you are listening to these questions, please answer. I would love to get your feedback. So any of these questions, write them in the comments. Let us know what are your answers to any of these questions. Right. A good question is, what is your favorite place to visit? Oh, what a fantastic question. This is one of my favorite questions that comes up in the exam, right? Usually in speaking part one for B1 and B2, favorite place to visit. And sometimes people are like, majority of the students always tell me my house. I just want to be in my house. And I'm like, no, come on, think outside the box, like really give it a think. And then people tell me the most beautiful answers. So if you have to choose a question and you don't know which one to choose to answer in the comments, maybe this one, your favorite place to visit. My favorite place to visit in Murcia at the moment is the beach. Murcia has the most beautiful beaches. And I'm also getting into the forests. Murcia has a natural reserve, like park with pine trees and stuff. I think anywhere that's natural. Murcia also has like a river that goes through the middle of the city that has a bicycle lane where you can walk or ride your bicycle, which is also beautiful. So for me, it's all things that are natural: the beach, the mountains, the river. But a lot of students always tell me something to do with architecture, right? For example, a cathedral, a church, a fountain, a bridge. So I think it just depends on your personality. Right. What do you like to do in your free time? What do you like to do in your free time? Also, a good question. You can answer that one in the comments as well. Well, I'm a bit of a nerd. What is a nerd? A nerd is like una persona friki. I like the cultural things, like, for example, video games or Star Wars and books and stuff. So in my free time, I basically try to take advantage. I try to take advantage of my free time and do my hobbies, whether it's journaling or reading books or playing video games or going to the gym, I guess, is also a hobby. But anything I don't want to just sit on my phone and watch TikTok videos, which I do. Don't get me wrong. I love TikTok. And I often scroll through TikTok, but I'm trying to be more intentional with my time. I'm trying to make use of my time better, because I don't want to look back and regret the time I've wasted. You know what I mean? Right, we got 2 more people. Let's go. If you are preparing for the exam, for any exam, it's Cambridge or Aptis or LanguageCert, let us know and we can help you if you have any questions. Right, another typical question is, what did you do for your last birthday? Well, for my last birthday, I turned 35. So remember that in English, we'd like to say cumplir, maybe. When you change your day of not your day of your birth, your birthday, like when you get older, we say I turned. So I turned 35 and I took the day of work. I had a day off and I just wanted to enjoy spending my time alone. I just went for coffee and I saw some friends and I just I bought myself a cake, just a normal cake from Mercadona, just a little cake. Mercadona cakes are the perfect size, good price, good size, the red velvet. And yeah, I just enjoyed having a free day to myself. Right, everybody, it's the final question. Are you ready? Right, final ASMR. There we go. Okay, final question is, so sometimes the exam depends. If you are a teenager and you're still in school, the question is, what is your favorite subject? But it could be a question as an adult talking about your history in school and what was your favorite subject. Well, obviously, I'm an English teacher. My favorite subject was English, whether it was grammar or literature or writing. It didn't really matter. Poetry, I loved it all. It was and still is one of my favorite subjects to learn. Anyway, everybody, that's it. That's between this episode and the previous episode. That's 25 questions for you to practice specifically, that usually are the most common questions that come up in the speaking exam. And if you have any questions, don't forget that you can contact us. We're everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Check on the blog, Spotify, Apple Music. We're everywhere. Okay, so any questions, contact us and we'll get right back to you. Otherwise, bye.
Si disfrutaste de este episodio y quieres llevar tu inglés al siguiente nivel, te invitamos a descubrir nuestros cursos online en theway.es, diseñados para mejorar tu fluidez y confianza en situaciones reales. Hemos ayudado a miles de personas como tú a transformar su aprendizaje. Visita ahora theway.es y realiza nuestro test de nivel interactivo de manera gratuita. Además, si necesitas una certificación oficial, también ofrecemos la opción de realizar el examen Unfiltered cómodamente desde casa.